Welcome to the Aha Moments Radio Show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide with your host, Mariana Cooper, founder of Aha Moments International and AhaMomentsWorld.com. Tune in for the next hour and learn to trust your aha moments to lead the way to live a passionate and purposeful life. And now here's your host, Mari.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aha Moments Radio Show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide. I'm Mari, and happy Tuesday. We are going to have an interesting time together tonight because as I was coming up with what to talk about on the show, I always kind of go into my own world and see what's kind of presenting itself. And the idea of talking about how is your bounce factor? What is your bounce factor? Resilience, bouncing back when things don't go as you planned. And for light workers, especially advanced light workers, this actually happens quite a bit. It almost feels sometimes like we get a bit of bait and switch from the universe. We follow the signs, we go down the path, and then all of a sudden we hit a dead end in the maze, and we have to turn around and go the other direction or another direction, or a trap door opens and we slide down a chute, or we get to a ladder or something, but we're not quite where we thought we would be. When will we be? So I decided that we're going to talk all about that tonight, and so we'll get to that in a little bit. Tonight we will also, of course, be doing a few readings, so if you'd like to call in and chat with me, you can do so at 347-215-9485. That's 347-215-9485. And Sam will come on the line and ask you if you have a question or if you're just listening. So don't hang up on him if you hear a strange male voice. That will be Sam. He actually has a great voice. I've had some people who are in love with his voice. So oh, yes, he says he has a sexy voice, and I was supposed to correct that. I'm not supposed to say strange. So anyway, his sexy voice, he'll come on and and ask you if you have a question. So don't hang up. And let's see. Oh, and then we have some news. This week I am shifting gears, and I will be actually appearing on the Sheila Gale Show, and I will be working with Sheila on, well, we'll be talking all about expecting miracles and receiving channeled energy from my guide, Mary, Queen of the Angels. I am actually coming out with a book in January that I'm channeled from Mary, getting a tremendous amount of downloads, and we decided that it's time to make this information public, so I will be launching that entire side of things on Sheila's show. There is no registration required, but here's the link if you'd like to listen in. The link is www.thesheilashow.com/radio/live. So thesheilashow.com/radio/live, LIVE. And that will be on Thursday, this Thursday, October 23rd at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And there will be replays, and all of that will show up on the page I just gave you. So you'll be able to listen in and learn all about what Mary has to say for light workers. I actually was invited by the Sedona Journal of Emergence, which is the preeminent international publication that is a very well-regarded spiritual magazine. And you can get it in Barnes & Noble and all of the major retailers in the magazine section under spirituality. And it's written by, it's a collection of channeled information from some of the top channels in the country. Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, who you're all familiar with from our AHA community, he writes for the journal monthly, and Dr. Todd and many others, and who've been on our shows and whatnot, and some who haven't, clearly. It's a big magazine. But I was actually invited to contribute an article for the December 1st issue, and I will be, and they wanted something where your predictions for 2015 from your channeled guide. So Mary, Queen of the Angels gave me a 10-page, 10 pages in my notebook, but not so many pages in print, predictions for 2015. So I will be sharing some of those with you on Sheila's show on Thursday, and launching a beautiful new remote healing program, 30-day remote healing program, and all kinds of other good stuff. So please join us at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on this coming Thursday. Very excited. Sheila's amazing. We've been friends for a long time, and I'm very, very excited to actually be launching this on her show. Okay, so let's get back to our AHA energy check, because there is a lot going on. We have Mercury in retrograde, as we know, until Sunday of next week, the 26th. Then we have a waning moon, so there's virtually no moonlight, because on Thursday, the day that I'm on Sheila's show with Mary Queen of the Angels, we have a new moon, which is awesome. Best day of the month to be able to launch something like that, and also for you, a really great time to get fresh starts, new beginnings, and just give yourself a few extra days, because, the retrograde thing on Sunday, but, it's just going to feel better. It's going to start to feel better. If you've been feeling not so great, it's going to start to feel better on Thursday, because we go into not only a new moon, but then we also go into the, what do you call it? What do we go to? Oh, yeah, the waxing moon energy. So we're getting light each night, and then the retrograde ends on Sunday. So probably give it 3 days after Sunday, so probably by next Wednesday, you'll be flying high and feeling like your old self. The fall harvest will kick into gear as it should have done a few weeks ago, and we don't have to worry again about Mercury in retrograde until January, and middle to end part of January. So thank God we can get rid of that and move on. Okay, so I think that's it. Again, if you want to call in for readings, I see you guys are really all lining up here, 347-215-9485, and let's get into our content, and then we'll start chatting with all of you. So one of the things that I learned with all of my big ideas, because I have a ton of them, and I'm always the crazy one, the maverick, the black sheep, all kinds of stuff. I've always been kind of the oddball, the one who does things differently, as they say. I've always had big plans and big dreams, and I was always the one who was willing to jump off the cliff, whether I had a net or a body of water or not. And many times, more times than not, I have jumped off and found that there was nothing below me, and I was going down fast. What it made me is nimble, because there is something to be said for resilience. And when I was younger, I really didn't care about being safe or secure. I cared about getting what I wanted and getting ahead as far as my dreams and doing things being kind of off the beaten path. I learned very early on what my passions were, which was being an equestrian, doing riding, horseback riding, and competing in that arena, and also my dancing and other things. And I learned early that there was more to life than holding down a job and just paying bills and all that kind of stuff. So I went for it. Now, I had a lot of criticism for that, and a lot of put downs, and a lot of you don't have a real job, and why don't you have husband and kids, and all kinds of stuff. And as painful as that might be, I also knew that I would be in a lot more pain if I didn't live the life that I felt in my heart, and I made some big choices that were not necessarily the direction society, has for us. So I had to learn how to bounce back very quickly and without too much drama and trauma. And that it's a skill. And all of you can learn it. And as light workers, you are off the beaten path. You are taking the machete, going off the worn dirt road, going off into the bushes and finding a better way. And when you do this, it requires that you have a different set of tools in your toolkit, because a lot of times those go off the beaten path. You don't get to where you originally planned. You actually, most times, get someplace even better. So one of the things that we talked about that I put in the description about the show was that we talk about the booby traps of being spiritual, and I put spiritual in quotes because many times people get caught up in what I call the intellectualization of spirituality. They like to read about it. I like to take classes. My brain. I generally, a lot of times, don't tell people what I do when I go into a new group because it becomes a brain picking session. Can you see my sister? Can you see my brother? Can you tell me, can you see, is my husband cheating on me? What do you see around me? Can I have a reading? Can I have a reading? Can I have a reading? So I kind of keep my mouth shut about that when I want just peace and quiet, because once I say it, and I'm sure you guys know if you do any of this type of work, if you say you're a healer, then everybody's back all of a sudden hurts, and people think it's just, it's okay. And you have to be able to put up some boundaries and just say, you know what, I'm not working right now. That's not the direction I'm going to go right now. And here's when I do work, and here's how you can participate if you want to participate in my work in a professional way. Well, a lot of times when we're in this spirituality trap, we feel that we need to give ourselves away. So that's one thing. Another booby trap is over-intellectualization of what you're reading and studying about, where you stay in the ethers, and I know a lot of people do this. They don't put anything into action. They just talk about it, and they try to apply it to other people. So the first thing they do is they read a book, or they listen to a show, or they listen to a telesummit, and then they decide they're going to test out what they've just heard, not learned, but heard on somebody else. So they go and they tell their unsuspecting friend or, some other poor soul, what to do, and start giving advice, and undesired advice. And that puts them in a position where people resent it, where you have some wayward energy coming your way, and you lock up your own energy because now you're looking outside of yourself for proof that, what you're learning is real before you're willing to step into it. So that's a big booby trap of this whole spiritual thing. I see it happen over and over and over again. And when people say, well, I'm stuck and, this doesn't work, it's usually because they're intellectualizing things and not putting it into action. So action is taking the practices that you're learning and actually doing them. So if it's clearing and smudging and keeping a clear energy field, then you're doing that, on a regular basis. You are literally folding that in like you're baking a cake and folding in ingredients. You're folding that into how you live. You're creating routines for yourself that you rely on, that become habitual. One of the big differences, people say, oh, Mari, you have these gifts, and, Dane has gifts, and Allison has gifts, and Rudy has gifts, and all these different people I've had on my show, and we don't have those gifts, and it's not true. What we have that's a little different than the average person is we have habits. We have very strong habitual behaviors that we do on a daily basis. And then because we're so habitual about the way we live with all of this stuff, and we actually, walk the talk, is because we do that, when bad things happen or rough things happen and life throws us the curve, we're able to bounce back really easily or marginally easily, or we call on each other when we really are kind of on the ledge and ready to go off. We pick up the phone and we call each other and say, okay, I'm at the ledge, when the other one's like, okay, here we go. But the reason why we bounce quickly, and those people I just mentioned all bounce pretty quick too, is because we have basic habits that are already in place. So there's already that strength. It's like going to the gym. You're already strong. So if all of a sudden you decide to move across country and you've got to pick up huge boxes, it's a big deal, but it's not as big of a deal as if you had no, workout habits at all, or no muscle at all. So what I'd like to suggest is that you really take a look at how you run your day. And do you have spirituality just at certain times, or, consciousness or whatever your word of choice is just at certain times, and then when it comes to paying your bills, you panic and you give it up? Or I had a friend tell me the other day, well, this is my reality. She was very spiritual, but it was like, well, this is reality. And it's not a matter of the bills are reality and your spirituality is not. It's a matter of they're both real. And they're both tangible, even though they seem intangible. And that when you integrate the two, when somebody is super spiritual and they're not in the least bit grounded and they're not, paying attention to regular, in the body physical life and physicality, they become across as very airy-fairy. We call it the airy-fairy, the woo-woos, because they're not participating in society in a regular way. When somebody is completely into the physical and only focused on, the scientific proof of this or that, or they think that everything energy does isn't real, they're missing out on, over 50% of their experience here, because they're literally stopping tools and capacities that everyone's born with that are here to help you have a better physical life. So the object of the game is to integrate, I call it the braided integration of both energy and physicality. I know one of my friends calls it generative, creative, and institutive energy. Beth Dane, he calls it that. But what you need to do is be able to integrate the two and braid the two. Now that takes some courage. For the woo-woo people, it takes courage to actually look at their bill. For the non-woo-woo people who are just focused on Earth life, it takes some courage to look at that energy and your intuition and maybe trust your intuition instead of constantly demanding that there's proof before you'll take a step forward. And that's what the AHA community is all about. That's what my whole business is built on, is helping you to be able to have that braided integration of both the spiritual and the physical. And I get a lot of flack because I happen to love reality TV, and I know, don't all hang up the phone at once, but I do. I have a good time. It's an escape. It's a guilty pleasure. It's like liking chocolate cake or something. And I watch reality TV, and I love to go after my spiritual intellectual friends. And they, one of my friends called me today about some guru in Peru or something, and I said, I think Kim Kardashian is smarter than him, and she lost it. It was so much fun. I was just playing with her because it was probably not true, but it was funny because I love it. She likes to get lost in all of the intellectual stuff that I'm like, okay, but how does that apply to like today? How does it apply to enjoying your world like as we speak? And and she loves it. She loves to collect information, and it's actually a really great thing. But you can get carried away with the intellectual, just like you can get carried away with obviously the salty world of reality television. But the point is that you should be able to enjoy both without guilt and without consequence. And so it's important to play with that and to look at your life and say, okay, what routines do I have? Am I using some of these things as a complete escape so that I don't feel in reality anymore in real life? You can do that. I see a lot of people who are very spiritual. They constantly talk about being in the energy and being in the energy and being in the energy. And I always say, look, we didn't come here to just be in the energy. We came here to like eat pizza and have sex and like, birth kids and walk dogs, to have a physical, watch the sunset, go shopping at the mall. We came here to have a physical, tangible experience. So for all the people who completely, kind of slice that, it's kind of like, well, what's the point of even taking on a body? If you want to be out of it all the time. On the other hand, if you're stuck in a body and that's all you think about, and, only thing you care about is getting your next Maserati and, hurting people along the way, that's not cool either. So it's integration. Now, one of the things that happens when we are in the throes of, light worker life is that we get handed a lot more tests than the average person. Why? Because the tests and challenges and curveballs and all that kind of stuff, because ultimately we're going to be led to do work that's going to require us to have empathy for our clients and empathy for mankind. It's here to inspire us to take on a cause, to take on whether that cause is helping kids or helping animals or helping each other or just raising an awesome kid. You don't have to go and be Deepak Chopra to do light work. To taking care of the environment, doing your artwork that's going to make somebody's, wall sing in their house or really help them to feel a sense of creative self-expression because you were willing to do your artwork. All of these are extraordinary and super important. And one of the reasons why we're put to the test more than the average person is because we are here to help others ultimately. And I know for myself, I have been put through an insane number of tests, way beyond most of my friends, because of the leadership role that I have. And, you can't lead tens of thousands of people and not have gone through anything in your world. And I told, God, I'm good. I think I have enough of an encyclopedia for centuries and whole populations of people as far as things that I've been through. But, jokes aside, that's why that happens. So one of the other things that happens is what I call weary light worker syndrome. And weary light worker syndrome is when we just flat out get to the bone tired. And I know a lot of you have come to me with that in readings and things like that, and some of my mentorship sessions, where people are just like, yeah, I get it. I'm happy to channel. I'm happy to do readings. I'm happy to work with people, but I am so tired. There's just nothing left of me. There's just nothing left of me. And then when I do ask for the things that are to me, it seems like they go by the wayside out of nowhere, And when is it going to happen for me? I give so much. I do so much for people. And then, when is it going to happen for me? And people still want even more. They still want me to write or to speak or to teach or to, tell them what their future is or whatever. And so it gets extremely, extremely tiring. And I don't know of any successful spiritual leader, light worker who has not been through this. And what you do is you turn to your habits. You turn to your habits. You turn to your meditation practice. You turn in instead of out. Most people turn out. And you turn in when you're in the weary light worker syndrome, what you want to do is turn in, not so much to get the answers from your mental mind, but turning into your guides, to your higher self, so that you can get, your guides, your higher self, so you can get your guidance and your energy from there. Because that most of the time when you get to that point, you need information that isn't readily available in your mental mind. That's why you're being kind of pushed up against the wall. So the most important thing, and I learned that even coming here to California, was the first thing I had to do before I even found a house, before you get a sofa, any of that, is meditation. And I never really did a lot of meditation back when I was on the East Coast. But here, the frequency is so much better for me. And I just, it was just kind of a natural default. And when I did, everything changed. Everything shifted. And in fact, a whole new direction for my business evolved. And that's what I'm launching on Thursday. So really important that, if you can stop and meditate. Of course, the journaling helps tremendously. Channeling helps tremendously. It's really important. We have so many more channeling contracts available. So many more contracts available, channeling contracts available to people now than ever before that are presenting themselves, and that will help you dramatically when it comes to getting important information and new information that you wouldn't normally have access to. Now, one of the other big distinctions that I want to help you with is the difference between divine timing and divine order. Because a lot of times what we really need more than anything is a bit of patience for things to configure, especially when you're dealing with other people. I've been doing a lot of readings, more so than average, and everybody wants to know when so-and-so is going to do what they want. And then they attach their happiness and their capacity to be happy onto when that person is going to call or be there or pick them over the other person or, show up for them or whatever. And it really does put your happiness on the tail of a kite of someone else. It's like anchoring your boat to a shark. The shark's going, and if somebody puts, bloody meat over the other end of the ocean, he smells it, boat or not, he's going. So when you attach yourself onto the behaviors of other people, and that could be a significant other, a new love interest, an old love interest, child who's starting to make decisions for themselves, a spouse, a parent, when you put your happiness and your permission to be happy on the behavior or the changing of a certain behavior of another person, you are literally setting yourself up for many curveballs that you cannot head off at the pass. So the patience part, though, is divine timing. Often it's not a no when something doesn't work out right when you expected it to. It's actually a not yet. And it's a matter of a bunch of things having to configure so that your desire can come to fruition. Divine timing is when, you have several different things configured so that, for instance, me getting my house, it never, when I was looking back in March, and I came to California twice, and I didn't find anything. Well, the house I ultimately ended up in never went on the MLS. It was a referral through my realtor from her friend, who's another realtor in her office, who knew that this house was coming up, and the people in the house were buying a new house, and so there was a lot of configuring, divine timing, where everybody's timing had to come together. So even though my timing was at one point, the guy who was in the house before me, his timing was August. My timing was March. So I got here in July and had to wait till August. But then everything came together, and it came together very quickly. Now, divine order is something else. So people call me and they say, hey, Mark, my money, oh, my God, I'm broke, and I'm about to lose my house, and then my back is out, and my big toe is in so much pain, and my eye is twitching, and then, my kids aren't talking to me, and so I just want to know, do you think can you see me having a relationship? Do you see a guy coming in for me anytime soon? And you're like, okay, so let's talk about divine order, okay? So divine order is when there's an order to things. So there's foundation. It's like the divine order of building a house. You build the foundation first. You don't build from the top down. You build from the bottom up. So if you're pouring a basement, you pour the basement, and you put up the framing and all that, and then the guts of the house, the pipes and the whatever, wires and all that stuff, and then the sheetrock, and then the paint, and then the flooring, and on until you finally get a full finished house, and then you furnish it. But if you start trying to furnish the dirt, it's not going to work, right? So divine order is about the proper order of things. One of the things that light workers are really being held to now, more so than others, okay, is divine order of relationships are coming in last. After you sort out your ability to communicate with your higher self, which is through meditation, being fluent in your intuition, after your ability to basically take care of yourself, in your career of choice, and your picking your right livelihood, and then finding your own passion and your own sort of voice, personal voice, and making sure, and your health being in a decent position, and then you're in a much better position to attract a guy or a gal of magnitude. If you do that, try to just focus. And anybody who asks me that, I know that they're looking for an escape. They're looking for that, well, if I just was in love, then all this would go away. And it doesn't go away. And in fact, you usually get somebody who's mirroring that, and then you have two sets of problems and two sets of bills and, all those things, and poor health and foreclosures and cheating and all this, and then it gets into this spin, and then people glob onto why isn't this person calling me? It's because they're going through their own crap, So what you want to do is back away from some of the more penthouse-oriented things and get to your foundation. And that's going to help you to have a much higher bounce factor. Because when all that's in order and that guy or gal messes up, your whole life isn't collapsing because things aren't going well in your relationship. Your life is in order, and then you just have to deal with, wow, I'm really disappointed that things aren't working out with that person. But it's not, life-slaughtering, and that's what divine, and I'm using that as one example of divine order. There's plenty of others, but that's just like the most concrete that I could come up with, for the sake of time on the show. So I just want to give you 3 simple things that you can do to increase this bounce factor, okay, and to go with the flow. First is creating really good, positive habit structures, starting with your morning routine. Successful people have a very powerful morning routine. I personally get up every morning and I do my spiritual work first. I do, whether it's meditation or channeling or listening to guided meditations or MP3s of some of my own teachers, reading a book of some sort that I'm feeling led to read, writing, whatever it is, but I do that for about 2 hours in the morning. And then I go back to sleep. And once I get up, I kind of live that normal life. I go back to normalcy, the brushing the teeth and whatever. But I always do my stretching so that my body can start to connect. If you're in tension and tied up in a knot and you're not stretched out and you're not hydrated, your body has a hard time receiving intuitive energy because you get so caught up in physicality of pain or avoiding pain that you shut off to the pain. You try to numb it out. Well, when you numb anything out in your life, you're also putting up walls to the good stuff. So I stretch, I drink water, I drink my tea, and then you get on to the normal, hygienic things. But I also will sort of monitor my energy. Do I need to smudge or clear my house, or does the energy feel heavy? And then I might do something like that. Do I, during the day, need to go for a nature walk? Some days I do, some days I don't. Some days I just need to nest. Some days I just need to, do something very tangible, like organizing, unpacking more boxes or, putting things in recycling, these types of things. Sometimes I just know that it's time to go to the meditation garden to do some big, on the mountaintop communion with, the powers that be to bring down the energy. So there's all sorts of different things, but your routines are super important. Regular clearing of your energy is also super important. There's a zillion ways to do it, whether you're using a smudge stick and you're smudging, you're doing any kind of crystal bowl work or Tibetan bells or, getting body work done on your body, whether it's massage or having your bars run, that's actually access consciousness, or having Reiki or some sort of, even EFT, doing some tapping, so those different types of healing modalities. Very important to keep you connected, but also to release the blocks as you go. So curveballs in your life will not feel anywhere near as curvy if you are in a regular habit structure of clearing things out. Because as you do these different types of, you're clearing out stuff that you're aware of and stuff that you're not aware of that could be slowing you down or in the way, right? So that's just a few tips. Certainly that could be a whole, 10-week class on all of this stuff. But I wanted to bring this up because I just think that people, especially at the end of the year, starting to go into the holidays, start to feel like, you're looking back at the year and, maybe you missed the bar on certain things and maybe you accomplished, more than you expected. Maybe what you expected to accomplish you did, but it came in a totally different way. And that's one thing about change, is a lot of times we register something as a curveball, but a lot of times the change that we want, in fact, just about all the time, the change that we desire, when we get it, it doesn't really look like what we thought it would look like. It looks like something very different. And that's a real honest truth right there, and the way that people will react and respond, no matter how much you pre-analyze and run it over and over in your head, which is really probably not a good idea, people are people. And they do throw curveballs, and they may react totally differently, for better, for worse, but, different. So it's important to stay connected with yourself. And that's the biggest thing to increase your ability to be resilient and to bounce back. All right. I think we're going to take a quick commercial break. Then when we come back, we are going to do some reading. If you'd like to call in, please do so at 347-215-9485. It's 347-215-9485. In the meantime, I'm going to get a little sip of water, and you are listening to the Aha Moments radio show. We'll be right back.
Are you at a crossroads in your life, facing big decisions about your life purpose, business, relationships, or other major issues? Are you wondering why you may be delayed in getting what you want? Or if you have special guides who are helping you? Then investing in a private intuitive reading with Mari is just what you need. As a third-generation spiritual intuitive, Mari has worked with thousands of clients over the past 18 years. During your private session, you will learn who your guides are, receive insight on the core issues that need attention, and get new perspective, clarity, and inspiration on what to do next. To register, go to www.ahamomentsinc.com and click on the Work with Mari tab to get all of the details. There are a limited number of spots each month, so go to www.ahamomentsinc.com for yours now.
Step back in time to the very beginning, before life as we know it existed. Stones have been on this earth since before the inception of man. They are keepers of ancient wisdom and messages. Tap into the profound wisdom of stones and let your journey begin at the Rock Girl Sacred Stone School. Let the Rock Girl take you back to those ancient days to learn firsthand the language and the secrets of stones. The Rock Girl will teach you how to develop your very own technique of communicating with them, allowing you to embark on your own path of self-discovery. Courses include Reiki, psychic development, chakra balancing and auric cleansing, hands-on healing, and more. Visit sacredstoneschool.com for classes and workshops taught exclusively by the Rock Girl of therockgirl.com.
Hello, we are back. I'm Mari. You're listening to the Aha Moments radio show, and Sam makes me laugh. Thank you, Sam. You make my week every week. All these commercial breaks, he just has me roaring. Today, we are talking all about when life throws you a curveball, what is your bounce factor? And we have finished the content so far, but we're going to start to take some of your calls. By the way, you can listen to these podcasts, not just on Blog Talk, but we are now part of Stitcher.com, and you can actually get a pretty nifty app for your phone and listen to the show directly from your phone with the Stitcher.com app and put us in playlists and whatnot. And that's S as in Sam, TICHER.com. We're also going to be on iTunes shortly in a couple of weeks. We'll be back on iTunes. So we haven't been on iTunes in quite some time, but we will be back on iTunes and, all kinds of other stuff coming up. Okay, so why don't we go to the first caller. If you have been waiting, now is the time to get close to your phone because we are going to rapid fire through as many of you as we can. Number to call in again is 347-215-9485. Okay, so first up is Tiffany in California. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome. What's your question?
My question is that I feel like I've been thrown a curve with my job, And I thought my current job was, like, bad for me, like negative, and so I'm looking for something else. But I'm confused now because I went to a job interview and I thought that job would be it, but I'm getting a sense that maybe it's not it. Maybe I won't be hired. And so now I'm all confused. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I know that feeling. Isn't it a pain in the butt? Just when you thought you had the answer, and you want, what you're really looking for is that sense of knowing what the next step is, whether it's that job or another job. That's even better. So I get what you're saying. Remember, we are still very much in the thick of Mercury in retrograde. So things that look the way they look today may not look the same way next week. And this is the very first thing, and this is a perfect question for a little teaching tool for everybody listening. The very first thing you want to do when life seems like it's throwing you a curve is to check to see what the energy is doing. That's what myself and all of my, guru friends do. We always see, they all call me. They're like, because they know I'm like the queen of the retrogrades and everything now. Hey, Mark, what's going on? We are in a retrograde, And if they are, then they siphon out a bunch of energy from the situation because they know, okay, well, there's certain things that are kind of beyond your control. Now, and I think that's the case with this Tiffany. I think that things might shift a bit next week. So what seems like it's not going to come through may just show itself in the next. Give yourself a breather, take a deep breath, and just sort of let it flow a little bit. You're really, the energy couldn't be more backed up than it is now. We're on a waning moon. We're in a retrograde. Everything's going backwards in a big way. So after Thursday, you might get some clues. It feels to me, though, that you're going to have two choices. And, again, we were talking about divine timing and divine order. There's two. It feels to me like you're going to have a second choice that hasn't presented itself yet, and you're going to be probably happier with the second choice. But I wouldn't count the first one out. Let the energy settle down, and then see how you feel in the next week to 10 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying, like, there is something else might be popping up around the corner. It's just the energy is not ideal right now, so just give it time, patience.
Yes, absolutely.
When is the Mercury retrograde over?
October 26th, so this coming Sunday.
Okay.
So it's not too long, just a little bit longer. And then you're going to get a clearer picture, and you're going to even have better intuitive sense of which direction to go.
Okay. All right. And is this are you picking up newness for me, or is there a chance that I might stay at my current job?
I think you're going to have choice all the way around. When they hear that you're leaving, they may actually offer you a little bit better to stay. But I still think that second opportunity coming up is going to be one of those kind of offer you can't refuse, and that you're going to be moving on to something else. Just hasn't presented itself yet.
Okay.
All right? I'm going to have to move on to the next person, but I hope that helped.
Yeah, that definitely helped. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a great night. Okay. So now we have Kiara in Minnesota. Hi, Kiara.
Hi, Mari.
Hello. How are you?
I'm trying to get through the retrograde. Things aren't going too well, but light is great.
That's great. What's your question?
Okay. For almost a decade, me and my family lived in a house full of spirits, and now I want to write a book about our experience. I have meditated and asked help. I have asked help from my angel family, but I haven't received anything so far. What steps can I take to help move this book forward?
Right. Take out a notebook and start to write. And then they'll guide you along the way. The guide that you want to talk to, the direct archangel you want to talk to is Archangel Gabriel, who is specifically governing over lightworkers writing books and all that stuff. You may already know that. And then you want to call her in, and you want to ask that energy to support you, but you want to definitely start writing. And the first thing they said is you might want to take a class or something, get some books on how to write, because they said that's the thing that you're really lacking. It's not so much you don't have their support, it's that it's time for you to write the book. Just start writing. And then, sort of put it all down on paper. Then you can sort out, organizing it. And I can just tell you from writing my own book, it's probably a good idea to write your table of contents first. I did it the other way around. I worked with a bunch of writers. I went to writers' retreats and took all sorts of, classes and things so I could, sort all the process out because I hadn't written a full book before. And I skipped the whole table of contents thing, and then when it came down to really organizing it, selling it, I had to go back in and say, okay, that doesn't belong there, that belongs here. But whatever gets you to start putting pen to paper, that's what you need to focus on. And that goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the show, doing both the spiritual and the physical part. So now you're in the physical part. Okay?
Right. How do I connect with people that will help me bring it into reality after it's done written?
How do you what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What steps can I get to get people, connect with people that will help me put this book and get it published, get it out in the market?
Well, that's way too big for a radio show reading, but what I will say is write the book first, and that's going to come up. There's plenty of groups on, helping authors publish your book. You can Google it and see, how to self-publish or how to get an agent and publisher and all that kind of stuff. But the first thing you need to do is write down your book. There's also plenty of books out there on how to write a book proposal. If you want to go to the publishing route, you might want to try that first. But what I would say first and foremost is start writing, because you're kind of getting caught up in guarantees that it will sell. Don't worry about that. Focus on the content first. Hopefully that's helped. I have to go on to the next person.
Yeah, no, I was just saying about manifesting, just manifest people coming into my life and helping me. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, and that's after you start writing the book, you're going to have a lot more energy to do that. That will start to configure. The writing part is the manifesting.
Okay. All right. That's great.
All right, Kiara. Have a great night. Thanks so much for calling in.
You too.
Thanks. Okay, so that was actually, Kiara's question is actually a good one, because that's one of the things that happens with folks is that we get, now, and I know she's not the only one who feels that way. It's like, okay, well, to be focused on the manifesting part, but understand that the manifesting is actually putting pen to paper. And I've been in that booby trap in other, in areas of my life as well, where it's like, okay, I just want to, manifest losing weight. And I want to manifest the right trainer, and I want to manifest, the right gym or whatever. But what it really is you got to go to the gym. You got to lift the weights. You got to take the beach walk. You got to do whatever it is, the actual physical steps. And then, take your hour, do your hour of power each day or half hour of power and focus on the energetic aspect of it. But then also, for every, let's say, hour of energy, you got to put in 5 to 6 hours of actual physical work. So you work on it for an hour energetically, then you go put in your 6 hours of physical work to get it done. I wrote my book, and I would sit for, 3 to 4 hours a day for weeks writing. That's how it works. Once you actually have a product, then you can get to the right people. You don't need a bunch of people before it starts, before you even put your pen on paper. You don't need a bunch of people that tell you that they're going to publish it if you don't even have the concept written down in a consumable way. And remember, if you are working on writing a book, you have to write it. The very first rendition of it is usually for yourself. You're writing it, putting down, your story. Most people's first stories, if they're doing a novel, is about themselves. They create all the characters kind of like the people they know and all that, change their names. But as you get more experience with writing, you'll start to write for what your audience will be willing to consume and what would help your audience. And so that's a process. The book that I have coming out next year with my publisher, the one that I'm in the process of finishing contracts with, that book, I've written it 6 times. And so I got picked up by a publisher very quickly because it's very polished and pretty ready to go. Probably needs one more polish edit, and then it's ready to literally go to print. But that's been rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that is the manifesting. The right agent popped up. I got my agent within 10 minutes, got a book, we got our first 2 book offers within 24 hours of her sending out the proposal. But that's because they had done so much work physically, and I had put in some energetic stuff too. So it's a combination of the two, but don't eliminate. The ratio is 1 hour of power, energy work, to 6 hours of physical work. All right? Okay, let's move on to Candace in Louisiana. Hi, Candace. Are you there?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great.
I can't hear you. You're breaking up. What's your question?
I want to ask about my love life. If you see,
unfortunately, I can't hear you. You're all garbled up.
You hear me now?
No, I'm sorry. It's really hard to hear you. Hello, are you there?
Hold on one second. I'm here. You hear me now? Is that better?
Okay. Yes, that's much better. Okay, love life and what? What's the question?
I wanted to see if you pick up on a soulmate or a partner, something like that in my way.
Well, the number I'm getting is 6, so it sounds like 6 months. Somebody will be coming along. And I don't know that you've met this person yet. And the angel that you would ask to help you with this, because we're running short on time, the angel that you would ask to help you with this is Archangel Chamuel. That's Chamuel.
Yeah.
And they're for soulmates, twin flames, and the like. Make sure also that your own life is very much in order.
Yes. Yes. Yes, it is.
God, there's 2 things. God won't deliver $1 million into chaos, and God won't deliver the ultimate man into chaos either. Just doesn't happen.
You're right about that.
So if you have anything that's sort of out of order, focus on that for the time being. Otherwise, focus on this person feels like it's going to be a very casual meetup, not necessarily an online, Match.com type thing. Feels very much like you're going to be meeting this person very casually in kind of either a family gathering or some sort of, family or friend party, very casual, someone who comes to it, didn't expect to come to it, out of town friend of a relative or friend, very easy. It's going to be very easy, so don't complicate it, muck it up. Go do stuff that you really love, that you're passionate about. Keep your energy high, and they'll show up. Give it 6 months.
Okay.
I hope that helps. I'm going to have to jump off.
They pick up on the letter or anything like that?
I don't pick up on a letter, no, and I'm going to have to jump off to the next person. Just stick with that, and they will show up, though. It feels like 6 months. Okay, let's see if we can get one more person in. This has to be quick because we have a few minutes, and that would be Rose in New Jersey. Hi, Rose.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Calling to see about my love life. What do you see for me?
Give me a specific question.
I'm single. Do you see anybody coming into my life?
I would say you're another one. There's a lot of stuff. They're showing me a lot of, like, roaring rapids. So that means a lot of frenetic energy around you. It feels like it's going to be more time than you'd like it to be, and that there's too much focus on the relationship, and there's some other stuff that needs to be fixed first. I think you already know what those things are. If you keep in that direction, that person will pop up, but probably more like an 8 months to 12 months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, let's see. One more person. Janet in Massachusetts.
Hi.
Hi, Janet.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. What's your question?
I am just wondering what you see for life purpose. What would be the specifics for life purpose for me? working on trust and faith and see a change and a shift happening with the smorgasbord of career of jobs that I have going on, lots of part-time per diem stuff. And I see an opportunity because there's change, and I'm just feeling optimistic about it and excited about it. But yet, of course, behind that is a little bit of concern.
Of course, behind that, a little bit concern is your problem.
Okay.
So when you focus on that and you do that, you literally, what you said in front of that was, we're all going in a good direction. And then the big confusion is that little, what I think you see as a safety measure of course, it's a little concern, that is killing bringing the right thing, for the right thing to shoot up and really present itself. So,
okay, who's the guy that I should ask? I'm going to say, who's the guy that I should connect with for a full-on immersing in the trust and faith? Because I feel more excitement than I do the concern at the moment.
Good. Archangel Michael.
Okay.
Archangel Michael and Archangel Chamuel is also, in addition to soulmates, Archangel Chamuel is for life purpose and helping you to sort that out and boil that down.
All right.
So Archangel Michael will help you to feel protected and safe in your choices. And it feels like once you step both feet in the same lane, you're going to see that one thing really blossom. And it's really right around the corner. They're saying like 3 months at the longest.